Hi everybody, this is my epidemiology study analysis report and review on the Honolulu Heart Program. I hope you find it both enjoyable and informative. The Honolulu Heart Program is an observational study designed to examine the trends and causes of cardiovascular disease and other related conditions among Japanese American males living in Hawaii. The study was prompted after reports came in of Japanese men living in the United States having higher risk of coronary heart disease and lower risk of stroke than those living in Japan. The initiative was started in July 1965 by the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute and was completed in September 2002. The program followed 8,006 men of Japanese ancestry living in Oahu between the ages of 45 and 68, and utilized their medical and social data to make observations and draw conclusions regarding the development of heart disease. The Honolulu Heart Program itself is actually one component of a larger study known as the Nihon-san study, which also looked at the heart health data of Japanese men living in Nippon, Japan, and in San Francisco, hence Nihon-san. Although part of a broader study, it's the Honolulu Heart Program specifically that earned and maintained both a national and international reputation for its contributions to heart health research and future policy development through the observations made from the original cohort data. The Honolulu Heart Program is a longitudinal prospective cohort study that observed its participants over the course of about 4 decades. Researchers identified 11,148 qualified subjects for the study, of which only 8,006 participated. Baseline examinations for the participants took place between 1965 and 1968, which inquired individual medical history, smoking habits, alcohol consumption, respective diets, and levels of overall physical activity. This was then followed up by a physical examination of the participants' cardiovascular systems aimed at acquiring readings for serum levels of various factors like blood glucose, cholesterol, and uric acid, to name a few. Researchers reviewed all Oahu hospital discharge rosters twice a year to survey morbidity and mortality, of which the relevant data was consolidated for review for signs of myocardial infarction and stroke. As more and more time went on, they also began tracking instances of other conditions such as congestive heart failure, emphysema, and dementia, to name a couple of them. All death information pertaining to this study was recorded using obituary columns and death certificates provided from the State Health Department. Based on the gathered heart health data from this study, researchers were able to observe that the prevalence of coronary heart disease was slightly higher than the comparable Japanese population, and the incidence rate in the first follow-up was about double in Honolulu than it was in Japan, as was expected prior to the study happening. Similarly, stroke prevalence was 3 times higher in the Japanese cohort than in the Honolulu cohort. In terms of overall health, the Japanese men in Honolulu were more on the obese side, stemming from a more westernized diet, and therefore they also had higher levels of cholesterol, uric acid, and blood glucose serum levels than those in Japan. Smoking was a lot more common in Japan, however, more people were heavy smokers in the Honolulu group. Alcohol consumption was about twice as high in the Japanese cohort than in Honolulu. Being such a long study, the Honolulu Heart Program created the opportunity for several research outcomes throughout the many years of follow-up possibilities that it provided. One example is a study that explored the correlation between physical activity and coronary heart disease development. Researchers were able to use up to 23 years of follow-up data from the original cohort to determine that increased physical activity in middle-aged men suggested outcomes of lessened risk for cardiovascular disease. Again, that's just one example. The acquired data from the program throughout the entirety of its duration touched upon a variety of subtopics relating to positive heart health, such as longevity of life and healthy survival and the benefits of physical activity. The data was also used in determining the more negative aspects of heart health, like coronary artery calcification, midlife blood pressure, and dementia development. In closing, I believe that the Honolulu Heart Program did a phenomenal job at establishing a strong foundation for some of the most critical aspects in heart health research and eventual regulatory implementation of the findings, such as dietary guidelines and creating rehabilitation programs for heart attack patients. Like other famous cohort studies, I can appreciate the fact that the outcome of the Honolulu Heart Program was not simply a singular determination of cause and effect pertaining to heart health, but instead branched into a cascade of study opportunities and findings related to the main topic of heart health. One major limitation, however, is a potential source of bias found in the self-assessment of physical activity by the participants themselves. Both the lack of a specific detail in acquiring the information in the first place, and the possibility of changes taking place during follow-up can effectively run the risk of incorrectly classifying that physical activity data. And although positively suggested, one thing I would have liked to see is greater penetration of the study results in other areas, geographically speaking, considering the amount of traction that the Honolulu Heart Program gained since its inception. I feel like the reach of the study was limited in the sense that it could have gradually incorporated populations of Japanese men living in other parts of the United States and even throughout the world. Nevertheless, this program still made incredible, groundbreaking strides in assessing heart health research, to say the least. Thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation on the Honolulu Heart Program. I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I look forward to discussion. Thanks.